Okay, this lesson concerns TMQ, IAmTMQ, target meet and qualify. It's a little odd, but I'm actually producing this video on behalf of parents, for example, or anyone who's missing a loved one, but parents in particularly, and I'm calling it Team Find, and then my kid, showing and demonstrating a system I call Target Meet and Qualify. I have a YouTube channel called IAmTMQ, Target Meet and Qualify, 3 steps. I use this to evaluate whether it be a question of an ancient text, whether it be a problem in an organization, or even with a process or some type of contradiction, a riddle, anything like that, in which we focus our attention. For example, there's a Quantified project class that focuses attention on omissive errors. What's missing? Well, in this application, we're now looking at literally who's missing. So team find my kid, and let's go over that very quickly, because your child, if it's your child missing, for example, or a loved one, we could say my kin, K-I-N, but the point is this 5 things, 5 steps. So we will just do this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And of course, we want to focus, because we have a lot of things. And I noticed there's a website about the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, the NCMEC, and they've been involved now for over 30 years. Well, they have some items that you should do. Call law enforcement immediately, of course. Be prepared with your child's information: photographs, height, weight, clothes they wear, the last place you know they were seen. Immediate um, protocol. Let's say you're somewhere in a mall or somewhere out in the public, and your child is absent away from you for a few moments and you can't locate them. There's an ATOM code protocol, so look that up, things like that. You can do this research, but what we want to do now is I want to help show you how you can exponentially, because if you're a parent or a guardian and you're the only one involved in speaking with the police, well, that could take 30 minutes. Then you go home, take another hour or so. All this time, 90 minutes has passed, for example, and then you go the next step. And let's say you involve someone in your neighborhood to help you look in areas. Well, now that's another hour and a half. So again, everything's incremental. This is exponential. This can all happen simultaneously. So let's look at that. Also, it says that they encourage, let's say, a guardian or parents who want to go out physically and participate in a search. Well, I'll just say if there's 2 people, one needs to stay local and be the one gathering the data, and that's what we'll set up here just to show you. And then, of course, inform the National Center of Missing and Exploited Children as soon as possible. So since that's the case, and they're talking about gathering data, so and find, FIND, that's an acronym. When you start thinking this way, you'll notice you need friends, informants, neighbors, and detectives. And yes, and we have a lot of friends who are detectives. I have friends that are conspiracy theorists and all types of things. Now, that's wonderful. If your child is missing, receive everything. So let's break this down in categories. Let's say communicate. That would be our first thing. And you can literally turn a room in your home into a TMQ Command Center. Now, I'll put links in the description to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, things about the ATOM code, protocols, even recommended sites. And then I'll place things here as a description. But you can set up a room. This is a dry erase board in a 20 by 12 office, for example. Well, you could take and set up a TMQ, Target Meet Qualify Command Center immediately. So we have communicate. Now let's have our, let's say, social. That would include, let's say, civic organizations, churches. There we go. And then let's look at political. Now, these categories just help us break things down to think in terms. So whether you're, Republican, at this time your child's missing, so you really don't care who's helping you, because there is no such thing as a Republican Party, Democratic Party, a independent that has something more important than helping you out, because that'd be a good thing to publicize should they not want to help you. But political would help you think in terms of if someone knows someone on the city council, or someone knows how to get to the courthouse and get published posters, things like that. You want to go to high traffic areas, post office, lobby in Walmart. I don't know where all that is, but that's what we're talking, just to break this down into categories, because we really need to think in those terms. Then we have our professional. Again, this board will just stay like this. You have vocational. Just put jobs, however you want to say it. So when you set up your TMQ Command Center, you have these categories. Well, all of a sudden, simultaneously, you're communicating with the police, of course, but you have someone immediately. You have Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. I don't know what else is out there. There's LinkedIn. Oh my, I'm certain there's more things now that I'm aware of. You can even, as in this case, make a YouTube video, put that out there, have your friends share it on Facebook, start a Facebook group immediately, go to all the Facebook groups in the area. And then again, you want to break down your area, your community, according to these categories. And then this one here, let's just say, because we really want it to drive our thinking, educational. Now this would be public school, public, private, and then of course in our world of online. And this would also include any seminars. So if you know real estate trainees or trainers, and even in the lifeguard training takes place in the summers. Let's say you have a friend that does that, and they've seen several children, or your child you may have an older child who you want to ask everyone in your family who they know. They all have friends on Facebook. So let's move and see what we're looking for, because we want to find the child. So how would we do it? Team, find my kid. We're focused. We're going to target, meet, and qualify. Literally target, meet, and then of course qualify. There. So when we set this up, we're looking at coming across 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We have 8 columns here. So let me just write that down. There. So we have 8 by 5. That'll be 40 total. We'll have a 40 total. And each of these 5 will be 12.5%. Once you set your board up, you fill this out. Now this is how I've used this personally for identifying variances, root cause analysis, also to generate sales, leads and sales, where, for example, I was involved once with a industrial manufacturer of industrial lubricants, for example. So you have glycols, which is a nice word for antifreeze, industrial antifreeze. They had cutting fluids, coolants, that is. They had IGOs, industrial gear oils, compressor fluids, and then, of course, I guess transmission, automotive, things like that. So you could break it down to 5 categories very quickly. You could take your top 3 items where you have your ABC, your highest return on your sales. And then when you go through this, again, you're wanting to do something that can help you think systemically, because we want to find my kid. So now we come up here to this one. You want to identify 8 things, 8 ways to communicate. Well, we just named the Facebook, the social media. So SOME, social media engagement. So that's a way to do that. So let's say we come across here and we put Facebook. We have friends, of course, friends, informants. Now these informants. That's just a nice word for gossips. But now these people are important now because you want everything they have to say. You have neighbors, even the ones you've never met. You want to go knock on the door, canvass your community, ask if you've seen anything unusual lately in the area. Have you noticed? Also, for example, the local community where I'm at is divided into 5 districts. So if you do canvassing, break it down into 5, district 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Place that on here. So let's write down canvassing. Again, you have those detectives, those amateur detectives, because you will have already, after you contact the police or while you do it, someone's looking for a private investigator. You're deploying all your energies, all your efforts. But don't forget your amateur detectives. You already have several of those. And don't underestimate anything they say. Take everything. At this moment, do not question feedback, but collect it, categorize it. All things are categories and core elements. In this case, we have 5 categories. We have 8 core elements. You take all that feedback. Matter of fact, I have a pegboard set up in another office where I take index cards, actually dry erase index cards, and build this same board so that as the data comes in, you can use an Excel type, a Google document type. Again, we've got our detectives working. We're canvassing the neighborhoods. We've got our neighbors on watch. We're looking for informants, any type of gossip. Informants seem to be a more polite way. We're looking for any friends, what they can use with their Facebook. So let's just put social media, SOME. That would be social media experts. And then, of course, the old-fashioned, let's not forget our iPhones, and have people, let's say there's something called Life 360. You can have people go on there, form a group so we can all know where we're at. We all know where we're searching. Again, if we have 5 categories, 8 core elements in each one, we're now starting to realize that all this feedback, instead of it overloading us, it's actually something we can process, we can categorize it, and place it in its proper column, and then move on. So social, civic, mentioned church there, for example. We have church, you got scouts, whatever that is. You've got any type of outdoor activity, civic organization. You got let's say a council, a student council in school. You have cheer. You have sports. Again, just fill this out. It makes you think. It makes you think. It makes you think. Now, the churches, you don't care. Catholic, Protestant, Judaic, Islamic, Occultic, New Age, Denominational 1, Denominational 2, Denominational 3. For example, in a local community that I'm thinking right now, there's perhaps 35 unique, distinguished, identified, and someone can call every one of them. Someone can ask to have a poster, build a PowerPoint, have them put the slide up on their morning service. But again, this is immediate, and you're gathering feedback. Has anyone been there? Has a child like this meeting the description? So you have sports, cheer, councils, scouts, church organizations. You have camps, any camps they've ever been to. You have the directors of any of these activities. You have counselors. And of course, we want to move there quickly, okay? Down here, for example, you have teachers, counselors, you have admin, administrators, you have any employees of any school, of any church, any employees. Employees would be something you would want to know about. And you can ask people all these, all of a sudden these become contacts. So here comes political. You have let's say you have these social clubs, the Elk Club, the Masonic Lodge. You have the Masonic Lodge, you have Kiwanis, I think that's what that is. I don't know how to spell that. You have Kiwanis Club, any of the social clubs. You have the community center. You have your Chamber of Commerce. That's what I was thinking about. Chamber of Commerce. Now, again, all this would overwhelm you if you didn't set up your TMQ, Target Meeting Qualified Command Center. You didn't define your 5 categories. Team, find, my kid, let's focus, let's go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, let's go over 8. You say, but I can't think of any more. That's okay at this moment, because what you're doing is, this is just put work in process, WIP, work in process, work in process. Okay, because you're in process of gathering this. So just put WIP right there, because you don't want to overlook that. You want to be stretched here. So here's professional jobs, your child, any summer worker they've worked for, anything in the community, the pool, if they worked there, the stores, if they worked in grocery, if they worked in neighborhoods, any neighborhood they worked in. Some children might have helped. And now if they're a very young child, some of this you're now calling people that you've worked with, people where you've had who have contact with children, can see children, have seen children en masse, and can quickly begin to promote, publicize. Back to education. If it's a small child, of course, they're not the one involved. They could even be pre-K or even younger. So now you're looking at nursery workers to help you, anything they suspect. Remember, you want your friends, your informants, your neighbors, and your detectives, all amateurs, whatever they are, because you've communicated with the police. And now to show you how Target Meeting Qualified works, as we went through these one at a time, we targeted it, started filling this out. Now we need it, meaning how many friends did we come up with? Let's say we have 6 friends. So now we've got those 6 friends identified. We're now in this column here. We're meeting them. We're giving them their assignments. We have 2 informants. We have 6, let's say 7 neighbors we now have. We got 3 people canvassing. We've got 4 amateur detectives giving us every theory they can come up with. Let's say we have 9 social media experts. Some people are natives. And also now we have people, let's say you have 2 people that are using their iPhone, let's say a life application, a GPS, let's say like I was using the Life 360 app, where they form these groups for you. They form a Facebook group. You have a Facebook group formed, identified. You've contacted all the social media, and all of a sudden you're now working. How much? We've been working for 18 minutes, and we'll stop there, because I can show you when you fill this in, then here's what we can do. The likelihood increases, so that what we can do is let me change the color here. So what we can do is, when we have all this filled out, we go meet qualified. As we review and revise things under qualified, you archive it. If you process the feedback, it's not productive, you don't discard it, you file it. Like I said, you can take this, collect it on index cards, use different color cards. You can get the cheapy spiral notebooks, different color notebooks. You can get you a red one, a green one, a yellow one, a blue one, a black one, whatever you want to do. Set up your categories. Say team, find, my kid, remain focused. Again, 5 letters, focus, 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 8 categories. And then what happens is you can now notice, well, we've had something here. We had something here, something productive here, and something productive here, and here. And then what you find is these all connect, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, those 5 things, which really, when you think about it, that's only 12.5% of the 40 that you've acquired, and it gives you something you can do very quickly. It also is something you want to do. You want to know that what you're doing is productive and increasing the likelihood of finding your child as soon as possible, because someone's already interviewing with the police. Someone's already gathering data, photographs, anything that the police need for your child. And if that's you, then you put someone else on as the captain of your communicate. You get your communicate captain going. You get them in place. You set these categories up. You start thinking. You identified, we have a Facebook group. We've got 2 people working an iPhone. We got social media experts. We've got our amateur detectives, 4 of those. We've got 3 people canvassing. We got 7 people checking with the neighbors, or we have found 7 neighbors who's willing to work with us. We have 2 informants and 6 friends. So immediately we've amassed quite we want subject matter experts, specialized knowledge. We want people from our churches, our scouts, council, cheer, sports, camps, employees, directors, counselors. We want Chamber of Commerce, Kiwanis, Masonic, Elk, whatever all that is. We want people from the summer activities, pool workers, stores, neighborhoods, anything about our own job, where we've worked, vocations we've had, training we've had, jobs we've held. We want to see teachers, counselors, administrators, employees. We want nursery workers. We want everything. And all of a sudden, we might find, first of all, an exponential investment. Multiple investment will give an exponential return. So this is what this is. And now it seems to just come natural. I just do this all the time. This is how I think. My brain's formatted this way. So whether it's at my wife's church where they're having some religious argument, you can format it, think about it, evaluate it, find what's missing. That usually finds the disagreement unnecessary or the disparity. You can evaluate processes, jobs, and find what's missing in the process where someone omitted some critical step or a material was omitted, a procedure, a method, things like that. Or you can evaluate an organization and behavior, a team, and see that. And so logically, it would go to the highest application would be if you have a child missing, you set your team find, friends, informants, neighbors, detectives, focus, FOCUS, find my kid, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 categories, 8 core elements. Break them down. You have a communicate captain. You have social, political, professional, and educational. And those are just used to provoke thought, not to, you don't have to force something. If something, well, this could have been here. That's not the point. The point was this was to incite, incentivize, generate, catalyze, and stimulate, if you will, make us think and take all the feedback now rather than being overwhelmed with it, which is called cognitive overload, and you're just broken. You get your team built, you get your machine built, you bring in the data. So Godspeed, and may this be helpful to anyone who's looking for your child, or team find my kin. And so if you have an elderly family member that's missing, same thing. You have any incident where someone's involved in being out of place, whether it's a runaway child, a runaway teenager, or an abducted child, God forbid, or if it's a wandering elderly person who's now disoriented, whatever the case is, this is the same system. So, and may this be useful. Review it. I'll put links online, but this is exponential. Simultaneously, things are happening here simultaneously rather than one thing, then another thing, because by then you could be days into this, and all the subject matter experts and the professionals in this field of search and rescue or seeking missing children and whatever all this is about, they say the first 48 hours is very critical. So let's look at the first 48 minutes. What could we do? Because we're at 24 minutes now, so twice the amount of time than what we've been involved in this video so far. We could have, well, if you're an amateur, it might have taken you a little bit, but in the first 48 minutes, you can have this thing running, up and running. So Godspeed.